Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody, 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 everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so.
Alright, I'm here. I've been asked like 500 times to like give this build out. And as a content creator, I want to juice as much as I possibly can. So I'm just gonna, I guess, upload the build. Explain a little bit, explain the gear and the REs. I do want to give a shout out to Demented from Goons. He definitely, I wouldn't say he came up with the lava sweep, but he came up with this variation when the Demon Reach lava sweep got nerfed. And I also want to do a little honorable mention for Twista and Brownie, who are in my guild, who put me onto this, and they were doing amazing damage. They theory craft, they've worked with things, and I kind of just taken it, asked them questions, and improved it just a little bit. So I do want to say, it does say 60k in the video title. This does pretty much perform 60k if you break out of that one macro, right? You could obviously pump like maybe 3 or 4k more DPS. I choose macro because I'm lazy. So for gear, we have the Judgment 8-piece. I have 18 spell power on my headpiece, shoulders, and my legs. Jesus Christ. I have the Varying Cloak of the Soldier, but if you want to go... This fucking mount. I have the Royal Nefarian Cloak, but if you don't have a cloak like this, I would definitely just settle for the Arms Wake. The Arms Wake Cloak, 23 Strength, 20 Stamina, and the 17 Spell Power. If you're gonna want to enchant anything, you know, put any enchant on it, I would definitely put the Resistance. You can get this at the PvP vendor for like 16,000 honor or some shit like that. Chest piece, 16 critical strike rating. That's from the Double Sword Gambison. Bracers, 15 spell power, obviously a given. Superior Strength, 15 Strength, again, PvP vendor. You can get that for about 16,000 mark, 16,000 honor. 16 Strength on the belt, it's just a belt buckle. And again, we have the spell power and hit rating, the presence of sight from Zul'Garab. And then we have lesser warrior speed, which is from the PvP vendor. Increases movement speed by 8% and stamina by 6%. Rings, I use the Gordak nose rings twice. They're not unique equipped, so you can have 2 of them on. And then I have the enchant increased stamina by 4. The higher you go, especially if you do like trials and stuff, you'll realize stamina is a really big part. What you're able to do as a raider, right? Because the things do a lot more damage. Some of them aren't avoidable, so you have to be able to soak them. The Shadow Flame bolts in BWL, or even just some of the phases throughout the raids as well, you're just gonna need a little bit more health than the normal person. So, and again, I've tried switching this up. I've seen Brownie use the DFT, which is the Drake Fang talisman. I use Neltharian's Tear, and I only have it normal because I'm an Andy. And Ramstein's Lightning Bolts. Now, I've tried so many different variations, I've tried Scrolls of Blinding Light. I've tried IMOM. Like I said, I've tried DFT. They just don't hit like Ramstein. I just like Ramstein's. For weapons, you could use Gavel of Karaji Authority. That's what I use. Arcane Artillery 3 in the main hand and Lucid Assault on the offhand. You can use Seeping Willow. I think Biss might be Calmador's Revenge. Although the Lava Sweepers that I've gone against with Calmador's Revenge, I've out DPS'd them. So I honestly, I don't know what it is. It's hard to say. I haven't been able to get my hands on a Calmador's Revenge. But I plan on doing it at some point. And then for the ranged weapon, we have the Blessed Karaji Musket with the critical strike scope on it. So for abilities, I'm just going to kind of say it in a perspective that you're hitting a prestige, right? Which, in my opinion, I don't think anybody should be prestiging if you have a fuck ton of cards dumped into some builds. I mean, honestly, you're just losing a lot of those scrolls that you've used on the builds previously. But your starters are going to be these first 4. So Summon Imp, Storm Strike, Charge, Searing Totem. Those are going to be your 4 starters. Always. Searing Totem is probably like one of the hardest things to get, it feels like. Summon Imp, Storm Strike, Charge, Searing Totem. Those are going to be your 4 starters. Alright. For other abilities, we have Hateful Strike, Stone Shard, Arrows of Frost, Flame Tongue Weapon, Flame Shock, Kick, which obviously is an optional one. You could have whatever. You definitely do need a kick, though. Like, don't be that one guy. Flame Tongue Weapon, Flame Shock, Kick, Shamanistic Rage, Focus Magic, Titan's Grip, Atalai Totem, Twisted Mind, Wind Strike, Frostbrand Weapon, Aspect of the Beast, Arcane Power, Chaos Burn, Demonic Leap, which is also optional. You could definitely get away with using like Sprint or some shit, but I'm cool, so I got Demo Leap. Pure Chaos Bolt, Blade Flurry, Chaos Meteor, Curse of the Elements, Explosive Charges, War Cry, Divine Shield, Lava Sweep. Anything that doesn't really, like Purify, Divine Shield, those are also optional. Like if you want to go like Divine Protection or Cleanse Spirit, right? Divine Sack. Good luck fitting the talent for Divine Sack in here. If you can manage to do that, let me know. That's really what I have so far. Talents, we have a bunch of 3%ers. So Enhanced Weapon Mastery, Shattered Barrier, Intensity is another big one. Chilled to the Bone, Magic Absorption. We have a bunch of those. Now we have a couple stacking spell critical strike talents. We have Ruin, Burnout, and this is basically just helping our Ignite do a little bit more damage, and also increases our spell damage that the target takes as well. Master Demonologist, that's a huge one. You're gonna, I've already tested like Felguard versus Imp. Imp is way better. With Frozen Power, increases your Frost, Fire, and Nature damage done by 9% by targets that are afflicted by your Frostbrand attack effect. So basically what Frostbrand is doing is it's kind of acting like, if you want to look at it from like a retail perspective or like a vanilla perspective, Frostbrand is your Hunter's Mark, essentially. Elemental Fusion, casting Shaman Shocks, increases damage to your Storm Strike and Lava Lash by 15%. Stacks up 3 times in the last 10 seconds. Obviously, as you can see, I have Wind Strike, and I have Storm Strike. Those kind of like roll throughout the macro, which I will be posting here in a minute. This basically just makes my lava sweep hit like a truck. Basically what you're trying to do is you're just trying to put everything you can to make sure that your lava sweep's going to hit as hard as possible. Obviously you want stuff that's going to give you a lot of crit, Thundering Strikes, dual wield spec. Pretty sure we have Malice. Yeah, Malice in here. I did have Cruelty. Cruelty is also pretty helpful, but I dropped it for Legacy of the Arcanist, because Legacy of the Arcanist does about 4.5 to 5.5% of my DPS. So I thought, you know, maybe it's better than having 5% crit. We're still figuring that out. Things that normal lava sweep players would have: lava flows, obviously, right, because it increases your lava sweep damage. Got Molten Earth. Molten Fury increases the damage of all your fire spells by however much percent. Overheated Strikes. Burning Flames, right? Seismic Spite was probably like one of the last few talents that got added into this build. It's because it's for the strength. Basically you get 10% strength for 10 seconds, and that kind of just keeps going, right? Once it hits 10 stacks, it can't be refreshed, it just resets from there. So I mean, like, you're constantly getting strength. The uptime for, what is it called? Seething Growth? Seething Growth. So the uptime for Seething Growth is 86%. So you're getting bonus strength 86-90% of the time. Another huge talent in the build is Corrupted Maelstrom Weapon. Doing damage to melee abilities now grants you Corrupted Maelstrom Weapon, so basically it makes the next Chaos Bolt going to be immediate and hit a little bit harder. I wouldn't worry about too much about the mana, but I would probably focus on the fact that it's going to be instant and it does more damage. This is basically kind of pairing up with Chaos Manifesting. So after using a Chaos Bolt, you receive a Fire or Shadow Empowerment, increasing your damage dealt with that skill by 10% for 8 seconds. If you haven't guessed, we do mostly fire damage, so getting that Fire Empowerment, that extra 10%, like, huge, right? Because your lava sweeps, that's multiplicative. It's not additive, it's multiplicative. So you basically add that into everything else, pretty much more than 10% if you do the math. Like I said, normal lava sweep shit. Searing Rage, that's a huge one. Rising Flames, Harbinger of Flame, that's another big one. The Harbinger of Flame kind of like ties in together with Burning Flames. So get both, is basically what I'm saying. Critical Mass increases the crit of your fire spells by 6%. Elemental Equilibrium. This did recently get nerfed. Used to be 10%. Increases your fire, frost, and nature damage by 10%. They nerfed it. They took 3% away because of imp players. They were kind of abusing it. So now it's just 7%. But that's better than anything else that we'll get. So you're going to see a lot of useless talents in here. Like, or not useless talents, but like what seem to be useless, like increases all damage done by 3% in your Mind Blast damage. Like, these talents we're just using them straight for the 3%. If you get it, like, increases all damage done by 1, 2, 3%, right? You're probably gonna want to keep it. Elemental Devastation. Your offensive, fire, nature, and frost spell criticals increase your crit strike chance of melee and of range attacks by 12% for 10 seconds. I don't even need to explain that. Proof Storm Strike. When you Storm Strike, you have a 100% chance to immediately grade 20% of your base mana and increase the nature, fire, and frost damage your target takes removed by 10%. Like I said, let's give him. And then obviously to like wrap it up, right, we have basically little fire damage increases. So, you know, Firepower, Ember Storm. Ignite's a really big one. If you have to have 5 out of 5 Ignite. Like, that's a huge part of your damage breakdown. If you look at like my details, like my damage breakdown, right, Ignite is pretty much going to be second. And just to show you, like, Arcanist, right, I didn't really get a lot of procs here, but in raid, right, or like AoE, it amounts for so much more, right? But single target, it does dip in a little bit. It does help. The last few we have like Primordial Fury. Shamanistic Rage is going to be really big. You're going to be doing a lot of melees. You're going to be doing Storm Strikes, Wind Strikes. Everything you do is going to be reducing that cooldown of Shamanistic Rage. You want as much uptime of that as possible. Obviously, I think my uptime is 88-90%, which is pretty damn good for something that has a 1 minute cooldown. I would definitely look out for those. Stormborn because, I mean, it goes for Shamanistic Rage, and it allows your Storm Strike to do additional damage, and also turns your Storm Strike and your Wind Strike into an AoE ability. And obviously we're a strength stat, so we take the mental quickness. That's really important. It just doesn't work if you don't have mental quickness. The hybrid gear is king right now. And lastly, this was the last thing I added into this build, Legacy of the Arcanist. It's just good. Like it works. Like it does really good damage. It shows up every single time I think about taking off. I look at the meters and it's doing like 3 or 4%. So, I mean, like typically you don't want to take off something that's doing that much damage. All right, we've talked about the abilities. We talked about the talents. I want to go ahead and talk about the REs. I get questions about this as well for some reason. I mean, it all makes sense, but we could explain it. So, first one, we have 3 out of 3 Hasty Lava Lash. It reduces the cooldown of your Lava Lash ability by 0.5%. I think it helps, reducing it by 1.5 seconds. I mean, the more lava sweeps you can get in, the better, right? Because that's your main ability. That's what we built. That's what the build is built around. We want to do that as much as possible. Frozen Power, I have 3 of them. Increases your Frostfire and Nature damage dealt to targets afflicted by your Frostbrand weapon. So that 6% is being added into that 9%. Like I said, it's multiplicative. So that 15% acts a lot bigger than a normal 15% would. I have in the middle 1 Lava Flows, increases the crit strike damage of your Lava Sweep and your Flame Shock. So Voodoo Power increases the damage of your Lava Sweep and Storm Strike by 4%. You want 3 of those. Like I said, that's primarily the build. Actually, I mean, those are the build. So, I mean, why wouldn't you have them? Demonic Lava Lash. Now, you could go Draconic and get the crit. I think, like, I'm at the point where I have too much crit. So, I want to increase the damage done. So, I'm basically just adding 6% to my Lava Sweep. I have 1 Lunar Guidance, Mystic Enchant, just for the 3% more spell damage. And lastly, Critical Mass. I have an extra 6% for fire spells and abilities. And like I've said like 1,000 times in this, it's multiplicative. So, I mean, it does a lot more than 12%, even though it says 12%. Now, I did kind of start off doing like a single target rotation on the training dummy. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like show the AoE. AoE is pretty decent. All right. Anytime that you get into a fight, you want your totems down. That's like the first thing you should do. If you know you're about to pull, I mean, just you can charge in. You can do it in the middle of your demonic leap. Throw that down. All right. So obviously it's not like a Splitter Chaos build. We're not doing like 500k AoE, but it does pretty decent for AoE. It's good for clearing out Mythic Plus. Obviously this week, at least the week that I'm recording it, Corpse Explosion's the thing. So being a melee just sucks in general. But when it comes to AoE, we're pretty much Rain King. It does pretty easy damage. You don't gotta focus as much. Just press the macro. It's the same macro I use for single target, and it works. Honestly, it's gonna stay at this number literally the entire time, so there's no point in going. I think I reached like 126k. Like I said, no flask, no buffs, just everything that the build comes with. Now this is probably what, I mean, a lot of Lava Sweep people are gonna watch this, right? And they're gonna want the macro. And honestly, I'm ready to play a new build, so I'm ready to fucking break this build and kind of share it. And like I said, huge props to Demented for making coming up with this variation of the build, and huge props and mentions towards Twista and Brownie. They helped design this macro. They min-maxed it. They brought everything down to the millisecond of like when things need to be casted. So big shout out to those guys. So I use super duper macro for it. Shout out Brownie for telling me that as well, because I couldn't fit everything in the macro. So slash start attack, and then we go into a slash cast sequence in the next line. reset equals combat. So basically the macro will go back to the beginning after you leave combat. Lava sweep, we're just putting that on cooldown. Like I said, it's the first thing you want to do. That's where your big damage is going to be, right? And that's going to apply both your Frostbrand weapon and your Flame Tongue, right? And then we go into a Wind Strike to activate that Stormborn, because we are in Shamanistic Rage. We want to utilize that as much as we can. We'll have Booming Echoes going, so we want a Flame Shock. By that time comes up, your Lava Sweep will be off cooldown. You want to hit that. Corrupted Maelstrom, you'll be at 3 stacks. You want to hit a Chaos Burn. Alright, Chaos Burn does fire damage. It's super fucking good. Plus, you also get that Chaos Manifesting buff from it as well. And then we go into a Wind Strike, right, which is the same as Storm Strike. You're still going to be under that Stormborn Shamanistic Rage. Lava Sweep's going to be off cooldown. Hit him with a quick Lava Sweep. Booming Echoes proc. You do Stone Shard. Hit him with another Storm Strike, because it will be ready by then. And then you'll have those stacks of pure Chaos Bolt, and then you're back to the beginning. Alright. So that is basically the Lava Sweep macro. Obviously, I have other macros as well. Stuff like Arcane Power, right? I just threw my Arcane Power, my Blood Fury, Warcry, and Shamanistic Rage. Just any like offensive cooldowns that you have, throw them into a macro, pop them while you charge in. And honestly, that's really it. This build really just functions off what I have as abilities. And that macro. That's really it. There's no hidden tech. Everything is pretty plain simple. People ask me, you know, what is it? I always just tell them it's a cast sequence macro. I mean, that's pretty much the sum of it. It's an easy build that you can get down. And I think Brownie even told me when I first started playing it, it's a build you can literally put together, and with no gear and maybe half the talents, you'll be doing 35k. So it's not even something that you have to be fully talented and built for. So as someone who creates content, I really don't want to be known as like the build guide channel. I mean, like I would call it entertaining content. If you have any questions, I stream on Twitch. I'm always live. I'm always open to questions. I'm always open to helping people out. Just don't ask me to run you through mana storms or anything. That's all I ask for. Other than that, build's pretty simple. If I was to give any advice, make sure, you know, since you're doing a 1-button macro, look at the ground. You know what I mean? Don't die from stupid. I don't want you. I mean, you're already using a cast sequence macro. Like, there's no excuse to die to mechanics. So, hopefully this helps people move out of shit. If you guys enjoyed, subscribe. I'm gonna be coming out with more videos and shit. They just really aren't gonna be guide based. They're gonna be more like content based, you know, and having fun pushing content. So definitely subscribe, like the video, comment, share it, and I hope you guys have fun. See you in the next one.